Coming up in this month's episode of RC Racing, we have a look around the Schumacher Factory and test what comes out of it. We review the 1/12 scale World Championships, talk to multiple world champion David Spashett, and there's a chance for you to win a fantastic Schumacher Havoc monster truck. All this month on RC Racing. We at RC Racing have spent the last few months testing the latest new cars, but how do they get from the fetid imagination of the design engineers onto your local hobby shop shelves? We had a look around the Schumacher Factory to find out.
Hi, I'm Dave Foster, Sales and Marketing Manager for Schumacher Racing. Let me introduce you to Vic, who's our Engineering Manager, and he'll just talk you through some of the bits and pieces that we do on our CAD/CAM machine.
So here's a typical gear off the new Havoc. It's a solid model, it's a virtual model. It doesn't exist, but it can be seen on the computer. It's a real component as far as a lot of people are concerned. You know, you can get great detail. You can assemble this to a car and make a complete car, and we can do all the checks to make sure parts aren't hitting each other before you've even made a part. So it's a massive, powerful tool to save a lot of making of parts and finding mistakes which in 2D you can't see. So this is the gear we're going to make today. From that, once we've agreed we're going to make that component, we'll then make an engineering drawing of that component, which allows a subcontractor, or in this particular case our in-house toolmaker, to make a tool to make that part.
Okay, so after the engineering department, we come down into the main factory, and you can see just here one of the major tools that we use, which come about. We have a full-time toolmaker here at Schumacher, and on this item then we'll go on to the Arbor moulding machine. So this is the Arberg, one of our moulding machines here at Schumacher. We use various different sorts of polymers depending on what it is. In the case of the gear that you saw earlier on the CAD machine, this is a 50% glass-filled nylon, which is ideal for spur gears. It's very, very strong, very, very durable material. So this machine can produce between 60 and 100 of these gears every hour. Okay, so now we've got the moulded gear, we now need something for that gear to go onto. So we take a simple sheet of 70-75 alloy. It then gets milled out like this. As you can see, we can make 8 chassis from this one sheet. And then after a couple of other processes, for instance the countersinking, the anodizing, a little bit of bending, we end up with a chassis ready to go on the cars. Okay, so as we move from the factory into the production area, you can see there's some sub-assemblies here of the Havoc. We can see our gear that we've earlier seen being moulded, now assembled to a transmission. Obviously we can't make everything here in the factory, so often what we do is have sub-assemblies which are made by outworkers here in England, and they're like pre-assembled units which then make our production here a lot faster. So here we have next stage of construction of the car. Another sub-assembly gets fitted, in this case the exhaust and rear shock mount. Okay, and the final stage of production, putting the car in the box. So here we have basically the main machine, radio equipment, fuel bottle, starter pack, and the instruction book ready to go. Okay, so you've seen the car designed, you've seen the car built and produced and packaged. Now it's your chance to win one.
Yes, to win your very own Schumacher Havoc, just answer the following question. When did Schumacher first win the World Off-Road Championship? Was it A, 1977, B, 1987, or C, 1997? When you know, send your answer to comp@rcracing.tv. And this competition closes at the end of February. You've seen it be designed, you've seen it be put together, now let's test it on the track. Ah, and look, there's our spur gear. The Havoc combines the off-road capabilities of a monster truck with great high-speed handling, awesome acceleration, and the power and agility for some serious stunts. Utilising a cordless drill for simple starting, the Havoc is a breeze to get going, but it's a hurricane on the track. With power to spare from its .28 size engine, the Havoc can take the biggest jumps with controllable ease. Available in both ready to run and almost ready to run, which is the car without radio, the Havoc really is the most fun you can have with your trousers on. .1/12 scale is the original electric racing class. Originating in the late 70s, its growth was remarkable throughout the next 10 years, and we've already seen on RC Racing some of its early history as manufacturers such as Schumacher reacted to the different requirements of the prevailing track surfaces to produce innovative cars that embrace the latest technology of the day. That still stands true today, as modern 12-scalers, or PAN cars, embrace carbon fibre and advanced alloys in what is still a very basic construction. Compared to a 1/10 touring car, these machines seem almost primitive, with a solid rear pod and only rudimentary springing up front. However, they are very stiff and light and generate huge amounts of grip thanks to their foam tyres, with the World Championships taking place just before the touring car competition in Turin last summer. The top 10 drivers who qualified for the A-Main contained a number of familiar faces, Andy Moore and Mark Reinhard for example, but the 12 specialists were also represented, with multi-world champion David Spashett and US champion John Orr. The world champion will be decided by 3 8-minute finals, with the best 2 results to count. Let's see what happened at the Collegno Basketball Arena. After qualifying, Dave Spashett from Britain was on pole, Mark Reinhard from Germany was second, and John Orr, the American with the brushless motor, was in third. And that's where they leapt off for the first couple of laps, running very much in line astern and in pole position order. With fourth place was Andy Moore, and then behind him Atsushi Hara, the multiple world champion in many disciplines from Japan. They carried on this way, say, for the first 2 or 3 minutes. Very tight stuff. 12-second laps here around the indoor arena in Collegno. And obviously, again, everyone looking for an advantage in this World Championship. Mark pushing very hard in these early stages, got very, very close to David, but unfortunately made a mistake with about 2 minutes to go. And that meant that we rejoined the race here on the last couple of laps of the first leg. Is in fact David from second place, John Orr, the American. Behind him it's Andy Moore, the Brit, who obviously later on went on to become the 10th scale ISTCC World Champion, having a bit of a spin there, but he still got third. They'd gone past the finishing point at that point. Mike Dumas was fourth from Hara, Reinhard, Paul Lemieux, and Gilles Groskamp came in with 8th place. So David's half of the way there to the World Championship, another win, and he'll be World Champion in 2006. Straight to the start of leg 2, which proved to be significantly more eventful than what we've just seen go by in leg 1. Dave's on pole again with his Trinity, behind him Mark Reinhard with the CRC, and John Orr with the brushless powered Associated starting in third. Off they go, nice clean start around the first couple of corners. Mark pushing very hard, needs a good result in this race. But oh dear, he's tagged David, and David's stuck against the wall. Very sportingly, you see there, Mark's waited for David, so he's actually let 6-7 cars go by, knows it's his fault. See it again, just got the corner slightly wrong. The result of all this is that John Orr has shot into the lead. He's followed by Andy Moore and Atsushi Hara. Now at this point, any one of those with a win here will go into pole position to win the World Championship. Very close racing again. These are three of the best drivers in the world. Obviously, Andy is now the world champion, and Atsushi Hara has won world championships at many, many levels. But even world champions make the odd mistake, and there's Andy, who drops down to third. 3 minutes into the 8 now, remarkably, that's David Spashett taking 4th place. He's recovered right from the back of the field after that first lap incident. The Corolli car going really, really well. He's gaining on the leaders. At the moment, that's John Orr, who's just slightly ahead of Atsushi Hara. Hara's been trying everything he knows to get past Orr. He tries a bit too hard there. Oh, Orr got a lucky break there. He got in carnage behind it. What on earth's going on there? Well, somehow they've all gone through. I think that John's actually retained the lead. He bounced off Orr. He has indeed, but he's just in front of Andy Moore now as they go streaking round halfway through this second A main final. We look at it again. Hara tags him, but gets off very badly there. John Orr can get away again. There's Andy Moore in the background, but as soon as Hara tries to get going, there's 3 or 4 cars that get hit. One of them, unfortunately, is Dave Spashett, whose good work of the last 3 minutes has gone to naught. I think he's now down in about 6th or 7th. He'll have to try and work his way back up from there again. But at the front is now John Orr with the brushless associated from Andy Moore, who's running a modified Hot Bodies version of that 12L4 car. Very, very close. Oh, they've hit again. It really is much, much closer this time around. People are trying a little bit harder. They've had the safe first race, and now they're looking to try and make the points behind in this second leg. Andy actually got the lead from that move. I don't know whether that'll incur the wrath of the powers that be, but he's leading now. In second place, we've got John Orr, and behind him is Mark Reinhardt, who's also involved in that first incident, very sportingly waiting for David to get going again after that crash in only the third corner. 3 minutes to go, Andy leading out ahead of John. And Andy's hit it, he's gone. That's it, John Orr through the lead, and that's David Spashett who's come through to the third. That guy just won't give up. But yes, it's John Orr from Mark Reinhardt as we move forward now with only a couple of minutes to go. And now on to the last couple of laps. And again, it's John very, very slightly ahead of Mark Reinhardt. Dave Spashett there's running third, and Andy Moore's in 4th. It's nose to tail. And Dave's blown it. He's blown it. He had a chance to get in the top 3, and he's taking it against the side. Now, he has a couple of laps to go. Look at John Orr is going to win this race, which would almost certainly hand him a massive advantage in the World Championship overall. He'll have a first and a second, 19 points, and be only assailable if Dave Spashett can win leg 3. Mark trailing him round. Can he make a move in these last couple of laps? Time is running out, and it looks like John is going to stroke through for round 2 win, and very much be now the man in the pole position. There's John taking the plaudits of Mark to his left there, and Atsushi Hara to his right. It's all to do now for David Spashett in leg 3. The only way that David can add to his World Championships in 1994 and 1998 is to win this race. John has the points in the bag. David has to win. They're off for a very, very clean start, unlike the last time, and off in grid order, which means that David has the cushion because he's got Mark Reinhardt between him and his main rival, John Orr, with the brushless motor with an associated from America. So it's the Brit from the German from the Yank as they go round the first 3 or 4 laps. Obviously, Mark Reinhardt's still pushing. He's an outside chance he can make second overall, though he's looking more... And he made a mistake. That's very, very uncharacteristic. I think he clipped a barrier going in, which put him offline, and that was indeed what happened. But John now is right up behind David Spashett. This has put a lot of pressure on David. Now, move forward a couple of minutes. They have been nose to tail for the last 12 laps, which is unbelievable pressure on David Spashett. Obviously, he's very used to it. He last won the World Championship in 1998. The last 3 World Championships been won by Masami Hirosaka from Japan, who's decided not to take part to concentrate on winning the upcoming touring car championship. And there's John Orr. John's cracked it. Oh, a nice bit of positive margin there helped him out. He's lost 3 or 4 seconds. Is that the point where he lost the World Championship? David now has a nice cushion and can stroke it home. We're into the last minute now. David only has to avoid mistakes and he will become the world champion with 2 wins out of the 3 legs. As you can see, John's caught up slowly, but really, David's been managing the gap for the last 5 minutes. Less than a lap now between him and the ultimate prize, the 112 scale World Championship. And I think he's actually crossed the line now. Indeed he has. He'll drive the car around for the last lap before he receives the plaudits of his fellow drivers. In fact, to his left, it's Andy Moore, one of his closest friends, and the guy who in just a few days' time will in fact become world champion himself. But a superb performance from David there. Winning from John Orr with Mark Reinhardt of Germany in 3rd, our own Andy Moore in 4th, the Japanese Atsushi Hara down in 5th, with Mike Dumas in 6th, and Paul Lemieux in 7th, with the minor places with Gilles Groscamp, Andy Griffith and Hideo Kizawaka taking those final 3 slots. So to the victor, the spoils.
Wait. Carter. Hurry up!
Once he dried off, we spoke to the new world champion. Dave Spashett, first of all, many congratulations on becoming a world champion again earlier this week when he won the 1/12.
Thank you very much.
It was an interesting event. I was following on the internet and on online, which is a strange way of doing things, but you must be very pleased with your performance. You're really on the ball from day one.
It was good. It was good fun. The track was a little slick to start off with, but once it grooved in, it's pretty consistent all week, so everybody could tune their cars and get the most out of everything.
Now, of course, you're quite used to winning world championships. This is your, how many you on now?
4 official, and then there was 1 touring car, which was World Cup.
So going back the whole way now, I happen to know obviously how you got into this sport because your dad was a big 12th racer and also an engine repair and engine tuner. I mean, was it sort of like, oh, I'll come along with dad and start racing?
Pretty much. Always fascinated with cars. I mean, he started me when I was like 4 or 5 years old anyway, so I didn't really have much choice. You just learn to do it. Just racing for years, really.
But interesting, really, considering when you started, which was, I suppose, what, the late 80s, early 90s,
Yeah.
you never really embraced the top class at the time, which was buggies. You've always been an on-road or on-carpet race, haven't you?
I tried to do off-road, raced a little bit in the UK in off-road, had some success, but not a lot of success. But the disciplines are so different that to dedicate to both was, for me, impossible. I had to decide off-road or on-road, and I just preferred the on-road. Basically, I was better at it, so I stuck at it rather than trying to be good at something I'm not.
Obviously, you were a loaded driver for a long time, but the last couple of races you've been with Tamiya for touring cars. Why was that?
At that time, my career, I felt like I was being held back just a little bit. Team Losi is a very, very strong off-road team. They have a lot of development work in that area. I felt in touring car, if I ever wanted to do well one more time, I needed to make a change. And I've made that change for this race, but my luck is not with me so far. So it's all gone a bit wrong so far.
And that must be the biggest change, really, I suppose, over the past few years, is because of the increasing capacity batteries, you're running much, much faster winds now, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, everything now is at the point of meltdown. Every run we go out, to ask a driver, will you finish? They will say, I hope so, because of the temperature that gets generated within inside the car. So for us now, we are on the limit. A few people failed that round because of temperature. So the speeds are increasing, but I don't think there's much more to come. I always say that every year, but really this time I think that's it. I think we are at the maximum we can go to.
Now, it's very interesting watching you guys race around this circuit that the radio control racing line is not always the traditional full-size car racing line. I mean, why would that be?
Yeah, it is. I mean, when you study it and you watch the Formula One, it is different. When you think of our 10 scale cars here are doing 45 miles an hour, when you times that by 10, in theory that's 450, so we're travelling twice the speed of a Formula One car. So our racing lines are different. Different in that we probably have less aerodynamic packages, we have slightly less traction for the speed we're doing, our slip angles are a lot greater. There's certain limits we can and cannot do. Whereas a Formula One car or a touring car will have less slip angle, they will have more traction, they have more control. So we're just different. I think this is faster.
It's unlikely we'll see your picture on a Sports Personality of the Year, despite the fact you're one of Britain's few world champions.
That'll never happen. That will never happen. It was funny, the year I won previously, before when I was a world champion, I watched that programme. And there was other stuff on there that was RC related, but there was nothing to do with cars on there.
Well, perhaps we'll provide a bit of footage. David, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
Thanks.
you very much. Cheers.
The original Nitro MT was already the best handling 10th scale stadium truck you could buy. Now HBI have introduced a raft of improvements while still keeping in mind that extra vitally important factor, value for money. The new Nitro MT2 retains its tough shaft drive layout, has added stronger gears, larger dog bones and a slipper clutch for extra protection. A brand new 0.15 size engine, the T15, provides more mid-range power and top-end speed. Despite the MT's pedigree, the suspension system has also been comprehensively redesigned. From the shock tower to the arms and uprights, it all results in a more stable truck in the turns. This swift and agile beauty comes completely pre-assembled with quality radio gear, a painted and trimmed body, and awesome looking wheels and tyres. RTR Nitro MT2 is amazing value for RC hobbyists of any skill level.